Okay, good morning everyone and welcome to our presentation on UI and UX design. And I will be your speaker today. We are really excited to share our insights and knowledge on UI and UX design with you. And I hope that by the end of this presentation, you will have better understanding of the UX principles and how to design a user-friendly interfaces. Before we begin, I would like to let you know that I will be available for any questions and discussions at the end of the presentation as well. So without any further delay, let's begin our morning session. I hope everyone can see my screen right now. I just shared it.
Yes, we can.
Yeah, okay. So the topic for today's session is Introduction to UI and UX and Making Things Better. So this is the rough overview of our presentation today. First, we are going to discuss about what is UI and UX, and then why do we do the design. Then we are going to discuss some common UI design mistakes designers make. And then I will give some guidelines and tips that you can follow. Finally, I will share you some extra resources where you can follow and learn some extra knowledge about UI and UX design. And finally, there's a Q&A session where you can ask any questions you have regarding the presentation and UI and UX career. So let's get started with what is UI and UX. So UI, user interface, is actually the graphical layout of the product. As you can see on the right-hand side, it consists of buttons, text, notifications, forms, etc. So every single visual element, interaction, and animation is designed by the UI designer. So when the UI designer designed these layouts, one question he tried to answer is how can we design our text to be accessible to all populations? So like UI, UX is also important. The UX is actually the overall feel and experience of using a product. It can be a digital product or a physical product. So it is consists of users' interactions with the product, and it is determined by how easy or difficult it is to interact with UI elements of the design. So like I said earlier, in the UI design, the UI designer asks questions such as how can we design our text to be accessible to all populations? In the context of UX, the UX designer is trying to find answers to questions such as how can we organize our website content so that the users know where to find our projects or any content that in our application or website. Moving on, now we are going to discuss about why do we do design. Simply put, to make things better than it was before. As you can see on the right-hand side image, the parking schedule, the photo, it is kind of hard to understand for passing drivers or anyone who is looking into those boards. So the UX designer has designed a new parking schedule diagram, as you can see on the rightmost side of the screen, which is easier to understand and answer the questions people had about the parking. When coming up with this kind of a design, the UX designer has to go through 4-step process. So we call it design thinking. The number one of this process is to identify something that is not working. So in here, we have this parking schedule, which is not working. And then they have to do a research to understand the problem. The UX designer can go there and interview a few people who trying to park there, and he himself can go there and try to park his car by using this diagram to research and understand the problem. Number 3, explore potential solutions to fix it. In here, he will come up with few solutions to the problem in hand. It can be 4 or 5 solutions. And then finally, at the step number 4, he will decide which solution best fits the goal of this project. So let's move forward. Number 1, identify something that's not working. As I said earlier, the parking signs are difficult to read and understand. Drivers are left with the nagging feeling that they read them wrong and could get stuck with a $75 parking ticket if they park their car in a wrong time. Number 2, research to understand the problem. So by conducting those researches and interviews, the UX designer understands that drivers only have 2 questions. Number 1 is, can I park here? If yes, for how long? So he's trying to find answers to these questions by his UX design. Number 3, he will explore few potential solutions to fix it. So these all designs the UX designer came up with. If you see number 1 from left-hand side, it has so much information. So we only have to find solutions to these 2 problems. Can I park here? And if yes, for how long? So first one, we can neglect that design because it has so much information and it is hard to grasp at a glance what it is all about. And then the second diagram, it actually shows more information about when they can't park rather than when they can park. So we can neglect that design as well. Design number 3 doesn't have any color code. So it is not a good design because users can't see it and get the idea what is it trying to tell. The other 3 designs, 3, 4, and 5 are good designs, but design number 5 is more user-friendly because it has color coding as well as it can see by the drivers clearly. So he will decide which design fits the goals and decide to go with the final design he made. So now we are going to talk about some common UI design mistakes the designers make. So number 1 design mistake I'm going to talk about is unnecessary inconsistency in UI elements. Next, lack of text hierarchy, and finally, confusing iconography. If we talk about unnecessary inconsistency in UI elements, if you can see the right-hand side design, it has elements such as images, headline, and the paragraph. So first element, and this if we take it as first element and second element, the first one have the image of different size and the second one is another size. And also the text, the headlines are different sizes and different colors as well. So in order to find a solution to this problem, the UI designer or the UX designer have to decide on a color palette and maintain consistency across buttons, text, links, header, footer, etc. In every element, he have to follow similar consistency in this design. And then he have to apply the same font styles for titles, paragraphs, and everything. And number 3, incorporate consistent shapes. For example, if you're using buttons in rounded shape in one place of the design, you have to follow that consistent design throughout the website or a mobile application you design. So I have added a note here. So it is okay for an element to deviate from the others, but this must be serve a purpose. For example, if we go to site like ikman.lk, you can clearly see these all elements are similar type, but these 2 designs are deviate from other designs because it is paid advertisement, and also they have paid more. So they want to highlight these advertisements. So they have used yellow color background to highlight them. So let's move on to the next slide. So impact of this is the consistency is crucial for building effective products. A coherent design allows users to learn how to navigate their way around your product much faster. In doing so, you establish trust with the user and create a more streamlined, enjoyable experience for them. Number 2, lack of text hierarchy. If you see the design on the right-hand side, all the texts are similar size, and all the text under the navigation has similar color as well. So lack of text hierarchy. So solution for this problem is to use size, weight, and color distinguish headers and subheaders. You can see that the text sizes have changed and the topics have more higher size of text. And also we can use more space, more white space to visually separate different blocks of information, like in the image you can see on the screen. The impact we make with this design, since text serves as a main unit of informational content, it is important to organize it in a digestible way. Properly formatted text affects how users perceive information displayed on screen. Number 3 is confusing iconography. As you can see on the image, the first icon, the second icon, and third one, they all three are different styles. First one is filled icon, second one is line icon, and third one is line icon, but with more thickness. So in order to find a solution for this kind of a issue, we have to ensure that icons are understandable. So anyone who come into a website or a mobile application should be able to understand what these icons represent. For example, the number 1 icon. When we see that icon, we think this is something related to time or alarm. Number 2, homepage. So users know that they can navigate to website homepage or a mobile application's home screen by clicking on this home icon. And also the email icon. Users get to know that this icon, if they click on it, they will be able to see emails or something related to message. And number 2, use SVGs to retain high resolution across all devices. Scalable vector graphics or SVGs are using widely in designs today. When comparing those with PNGs or JPEGs or any other design format, using SVGs have advantages such as it is lightweight in size, and also we can scale it any size we want. So you can use the SVGs anywhere in your design without any problem. And number 3, maintain style consistency. For example, all selected icons should either be filled or outlined. So when comparing these two designs, you can see some consistency in the design in this page. Impact. Since icons are fundamental part of digital interfaces, it is important to choose clear and intuitive symbols. Next, we are going to talk about, give you some tips regarding UI and UX designs you can apply to your designs when you're doing designs next time. Number 1 is to design using a grid. Layout grids help designers constrain the structure of design and achieve consistency and organization of the designs. Applying a layout grid to your design will help you to organize your designs, design more efficiently, and also translate your design to a variety of screen sizes. I have added 2 links here. If you follow these links, you can see number 1 is material design, the Google's material design guidelines to how to add a grid and how to add guidelines to your design. And number 2 is for how to create a grid layout and use columns in Figma. Figma actually is the most widely used designing tool these days. So if you want to become a UX designer or a UI designer, you have to get used to these tools such as Figma, Adobe, User Experience, UXD, and also there's other applications as well to do wireframing and visual design as well as prototyping. We will discuss those later. And moving on, number 2, create a design system. Design systems include textiles, colors, and components that are standardized across your designs. Applying a design system to your design will help you to create visual consistency, design more efficiently, and collaborate with other designers. I will show you one design system we have developed recently. So it has, we follow actually, there's a principle called atomic design principle. So we start with the small elements such as icons, buttons, images used in the website, and also different form elements, input elements. So here we have different style and status of buttons. For example, this is a disabled button, and this is a secondary button. This is a button when it is clicked, and so on. So by having a design system, you can easily use this design to create different elements like this. So these are the content of our UI design. This is not the final product, but these are the contents. By using this, you can create the final UI design easily. So this is the final UI design. So we have added those elements and created the design in a uniform way. So consistency in design is really important. Let's go back to our presentation. And I have also added 2 links here, design systems. And so here, the Nelson Norman Group is one of the leading user experience research group. And you can find their article about design systems, introduction, and how to use design systems, and what are the advantages of using them. I will share this presentation with you after we end the session, so you can follow these links and learn something new and apply it when you are doing your designs next time. And also the next design, InVision. InVision is actually interaction design tool. You can download this handbook and follow it and gain some new knowledge how to develop a better user experience. Number 3 is to keep consistency in mind. Designers need to design for all populations, including people who are colorblind, visually impaired, or motor impaired. So you have to keep in mind that you are designing or developing a system for people who has different kind of impaired people. Like, for example, visually impaired people can't see all the colors you are adding to the screens, and motor impaired people can't see your screen. So you have to use meaningful hyperlink text and don't specify important information using color alone. Use body text that is easy to read and avoid jargon. So even if you design or develop a system, most of the users are not coming from the same background as you. So you have to use content that everyone can understand. And also visually impaired people and also the motor impaired people, they especially visually impaired people use screen readers to see your content. So you have to add describing text and meaningful text in your design in order to give access to all these users. And I have added once again 2 links here, which leads to accessibility guidelines for UX designers article. Please read this and understand what are the guidelines you have to follow when you're designing something for every user. And also here we have a colorblind web page filter. So you can add your design link URL here and fetch the filter and see how it is. It can visible to colorblind people. Moving on. So extra resources. I have added these extra resources you can follow to gain further knowledge. So let's go one by one, and I will tell you what it is about. So here, typescale.com is actually a typography tool you can use to do your designs. When designing a website or a mobile application, you have to decide the base size of your font. So normally it is 16 pixels, depending on the font you choose. You can choose the font from here. And when you give the base size, it will give you the sizes for other text. For example, for H6, we can use 20 pixels, and H1 is 48 pixels, and so on. Excuse me, give me a second. And the next, the startuxdesign.cc is actually UX design guideline for you to follow. They have presented it in a really nice way. You can easily follow these guidelines and learn something new and apply it to your designs when you work on your designs. So it has few chapters. You can go through all these and gain some new knowledge. Third one is another article about mobile app UI design. These are 10 key principles you can follow when doing UI and UX design. And the fourth one is actually about more into career focus. This is you can gain understanding about how much you can get paid and get some motivation from it. If you are working in US, you will get 76,000 odd US dollars per year. Very different here in Sri Lanka, but if you are applying for a job in US or any other country, this is the average salary you get as a UX designer. And also it has some popular skills that you need as UX designer: user experience design, interface design, research, web design, as well as interaction design. So these are some skills that you require. And this is the career path for UX designer. You can become a lead UX designer after some experience, and senior designer, UX manager, and so on. And I have added 2 YouTube channels. In this channel, the Design Sense channel, you will be able to get UX trends and UI trends, what other people are doing. And when you start a design, it is always better to see these kind of trends and use this on your designs, because designing is updated daily. So if you are following the same designs every day, your design will be outdated. So I invite you to subscribe to these channels and view these designs before you do any designs for clients. And here in this channel, they have interviews about how design thinking, how to design a layout, and also you can know how to start your own design business. So it is very insightful YouTube channel. You can follow that as well. And finally, Dribble and Behance. Actually, you can create your portfolios there. When the recruiters or companies ask you to send a portfolio, you can just send your Behance or Dribble portfolio to them, so they can view your work and decide. And also when you are doing a design, you can get some motivation from other people's designs by searching any term here. For example, now if you are into, you go to this site, and if you're trying to develop a NFT website, NFC application, you can gain knowledge or motivation from these interfaces, and you can design your own application. Don't just copy the design, get some insight and do the design your own. And finally, awards.com. It is actually the for websites. There are certain websites that they have added here, and the users can vote for the designs. So this is another website that we use to gain motivation or insights for our designs. Moving on. So this, if you want to be a designer, you have to get used to these tools as well. Figma, as I discussed earlier, it is a widely used design tool these days, and Sketch is macOS version, another design tool, and Adobe XD, Photoshop, Raycast is another application we use, and InVision is for interaction design, and Google Fonts and Typekit is for typography for these designs. Apart from that, the designers these days, there is a high demand for designers who can code. We call them full stack designers or full stack developers. Apart from these designing skills, it is better, it is good if you have skills in front-end technologies such as HTML, CSS, TypeScript, JavaScript. Special building is widely used today in the industry, and also React.js and Vue.js is really important if you have front-end knowledge in these areas as well. And backend, I have added the backend technologies we use at our company, and these are databases and blockchain technologies we use. So that is all from my presentation. Now it is open for you to ask any questions you have regarding the presentation, or any UI and UX design questions you have during your lessons, or when you try to do a web design or anything. Thank you.
Students, it's your time to ask a question from the presentation, or from what you want to know about UI UX in the industry, or it could be something about the industry. Now it's open for you to ask questions. Yourself and ask the question, or else you can send it through the chat so I can ask it. Right. And also you can ask questions from Sinhala, English, or yeah, or only those to learn Sinhala or English, right? Yeah. I got one question from chat box. One student is asking, what is the difference between UI UX designer and the engineer?
Okay, good question. So UI UX designer is someone who, it is actually the words that is make the difference. With UI UX designer is someone UI UX designer is someone who designed the UI interface according to client's requirements, whereas UX engineer or UI UX engineer is someone who do the research and do client interviews who has a better understanding about information architecture as well as how the elements should be placed. So UI designer, UI and UX designer is where you start your career, and moving forward when you have a better experience and understanding about the architecture of the design as well as this user psychology, uh, different areas, you can call him a UX engineer. It comes with the experience and the knowledge. Good question.
Oh, excuse me. I have a question. What is the prototype and the wireframe? Because it's both the same or it's different. Because someone says wireframe is the sketch design, and the prototype is your sample of your app, like hard code app. So that's I need the difference of the if
Yeah, the wireframe and the prototype. The wireframe is the first rough prototype. Like we can call it a prototype, but a rough layout you design after you gather the requirement from the client. For example, you can do the wireframes using just pen and paper, or there are applications like Pencil, or even you can use Photoshop to create wireframes. In here, in wireframing, you only put rough elements in the design. For example, if you want to design a website, you just put what areas you should focus, what are the structure of the website basically. And when using doing the prototype, there's a two types of prototypes: low fidelity and high fidelity. In low fidelity prototype, we convert wireframes to prototype by following design principles and design system. So it is somewhat detailed than wireframe. And finally, we do the high fidelity prototype, which we can show to our clients before we start coding. In high fidelity prototype, the actual look and feel of the final product should be there. So after client approve the final high fidelity prototype, we can move on to code the design and develop our product. Is it clear for you?
yes, sir. Thank you. Another question I have.
Yeah.
Now, OpenGPT, OpenAI is very famous.
I can't hear you clearly.
Sorry, sir. Nowadays, is the OpenAI, the AI platform is very famous.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
ChatGPT.
Yes.
So every developers and engineers are fear about that, because we need any code, we can ask this AI, they give us. If I need any new image man from moon, they can generate image to give to me. So is this any threat for the UI UX designer in the future? But it's not innovative, but it will be doing in a couple of minutes. So
Yeah, the
it's
OpenAI. Yeah, go ahead. I think you asked about OpenAI Chat GPT tool. Actually, you don't have to fear about it. It is a good thing. So you can use that tool and gain some knowledge. You can ask questions from that.
yes,
And
but in is there another platform said DALI? It's you're going to ask any image, they generate image to give you. If
yeah,
any image you want, you can get.
yeah, there are some
Oh,
tools
it's
that they use ChatGPT OpenAI API. Even there's a site called Midjourney where you type what you need and they just create the image or the user interface for you. But in the long term, it will be an issue. So it is in short time run, you're just graduating in coming years. So it won't be that much of an issue, especially if you design a customized design for the designer. So you have to get up to date with the latest UI and UX trends. And don't fear about these AI things just yet.
Okay, thank you.
And there's another question. One student is asking, can you explain the interconnection and difference between UI engineering and front-end development?
Okay, UI engineer and front-end developer. Actually, different companies use these terms to describe different areas. For example, the UI engineer is someone who does the UI, basically the designing part, and he knows a little bit of code as well. He can either be a designer and a developer. And when it comes to front-end developer, he only knows front-end languages, not so much about the design, but front-end languages such as HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and the frameworks such as React.js as well as Vue.js. So it is actually used in different contexts by different companies. You have to, when you're applying for different jobs, for example, if you're applying for UI engineer, you have to see the job description and you have to understand what they are asking for. And also front-end developer, you have to see the job description and what are the qualifications they are asking for and your responsibilities. So these are actually the words used by different companies. You don't have to worry about the words. What you're applying for, you have to read the qualifications they require and apply when you are applying for a job. Is it clear? Something, is there any more questions coming in?
Not in the chat yet. Students, you can ask questions. One question. Are there any special processes or practices used in industry?
Yeah, when doing the UI and UX design, when developing a product for client, the process, what is the question again? Process and practices, right?
Yeah, practices and processes.
Okay. So, for example, when a client come up with a product idea or any project, the first thing we need to do is interview and understand what is the requirement. So we have a requirement gathering, and then we have to process the idea and research about the client's requirement. And also moving forward, we have to do the wireframes and the UX research as well. So the processes companies follow are different in their culture. For example, in our company, in a project management, we follow agile principles. So in agile, the client and the product developers can communicate directly with each other in every process of the project development. So the processes are different, but the rough process is requirement gathering, then doing the interviews, and then the rough designing, and finally prototype design, and then moving on, they can develop the design and deploy it. And there's a Q&A process going on during the design period as well as the development period. That is the rough process for product design and development. Is it clear? I'm sorry.
Yeah, they say that it's clear through the chat. You can direct questions to the resource person too, right? And or else turn your microphone on. Any more questions?
So, what is the best tools where using image design and UX, the Adobe XD or Figma? Which one is you recommend?
Yeah, actually, in our company, we are using Figma, but it depends on your experience. If you use to Adobe XD, you can use that tool. And if you're used to something like Figma, you can use that tool as well. Both these tools have built-in design features, such as you can actually create a prototype as well. So it is depending on your preference. If you are good at using Adobe XD, continue with that. And Figma is the tool we are using here. Is it clear? Do you need further clarification?
And there's another question. Can we start as a freelancer in UI UX?
And the answer is yes. Actually, you can start as a freelancer if you're doing any kind of job these days. So in order to start a freelancer in UI and UX, first thing you need to do is you have to create a portfolio by using your designs that you have already done. Please make sure you put your best designs there, because when they're hiring you, you have to show your best, because there are platforms that you can use for that. Now one is upwork.com. You can go there and sign up as a designer, UX designer. They will ask you a few questions about you and your background. And there are very good projects, very good client in this platform. You can apply for jobs. And also there is another marketplace called Fiverr and freelancer.com. So make sure, but before you applying for these jobs, make sure you stand out from other designers. The only thing you can do to stand out from other designers is to create a good portfolio with your best work. So you have to do some projects and get experience, and then start applying for freelancing jobs. Is it clear?
And there's another question from a student. What industry expect from an intern when it comes to UI design?
Sorry, what is the question again? What industry?
What industry expect from an intern when it comes to UI design?
Okay. The industry expectation is that you should have knowledge in both UI and UX. Actually, the design thinking and the problem solving abilities, as well as the communication skills, the soft skills we talk. So those are the expectations they expect from you when you're hiring as an intern. They don't expect you to be an expert designer, but these skills, communication skills and critical thinking, problem solving, design thinking, those are the skills that you have to achieve when you apply for a job in a company. So if you are a good problem solver, they will get to know through their hiring process. They will ask you questions. They will give you some quizzes to understand how you solve those. So it is really important to you to have those skills apart from being a good designer.
It seems there are no more questions. So,
yeah, if you have any questions or any concern when you're doing the design or anything, I will add my email address to chat box here. You can send me an email and I will try to answer you Sandhini, I think I sent it to you. Can you share it with everyone?
Sure.
So I think we can wrap up this session. So it is really nice to talking to you, everyone. And I think you have learned something from this presentation. Thank you, Sandhini. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much, Mr. Rikshan. And students, do you have anything to say or ask further?
Yes, ma'am. Am I audible?
Yes.
Yes. So, Mr. Rukshan, thank you so much for joining us today and sharing your hard-earned knowledge whilst foregoing your busy schedule. It is a weekday and it's a morning. I know how busy it might have been for you. So, thank you so much. And I wish to pave my career path in UI UX direction, and I learned a lot from this session today. And I know there are a lot of students like me. So it was a great help for us. And I sincerely hope that you will keep on collaborating with us in the future to help our junior batches in the coming years as well. So thank you so much again and have a good day.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Okay. Thank you. Thanks again to our resource person. And thank you to all the students for your participation. So let's wind up the session. Okay.